So, and usually it's Skype that does something stupid, but in this case it was Windows. Well, I guess Windows owns Skype, so it's the same, Microsoft. Anyway, we are actually
let's
live
not
on
go
YouTube
there.
right now, so everything should still be okay. We're going to start the show recording again because we didn't really get too far where it just locked up on us.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. That frankly has never happened before.
First time for everything.
I
Rick.
know. It's just like, geez. Okay, so I'm going to set up. So we're going to start from a different shot. Let me just get in here. And for all you people watching on YouTube, sorry about that. We had a little bit of a problem with Windows. What's new? Anyway, and I like Windows, but today it decided in the middle or the beginning of our show to literally shut down the machine and update itself. Not nice. Not nice at all. It doesn't play well in the backyard sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to shift over to this shot, and then we will introduce everybody on the show. So let me go back here. And can you hit reset right there? Restart. Okay, there we go. So we are going to start the show recording in 3, 2, and 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to eLearnChat, where talk, it's knowledge. And we've got some good talking to do today. Sitting right next to me, 7,000 miles away. I can almost touch her from here, but no, well, no, I can't. See, I'm touching her shoulder right there. Magic of green screen. Is the Emma Peel of eLearning. She is, we call her the Queen of eLearning from the UK. Though originally from Scotland, we have with us Leslie Price. Hey, Leslie, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good evening, everyone. It's lovely to be on eLearnChat again.
It's lovely
with you, Rick.
It's lovely to have you back on. And we have a great guest today. We're going to be talking about zebras, among other things. And if that's not a hint, you'll find out soon. Here we go. Okay, we're going to start that over. I'm sorry. Okay. Hold on. Don't click on anything. Just switch to that one, and we're good.
Switch to which one?
Just switch to the other URL, to the URLs.
Just switch to the
Yeah.
URLs.
So we're going to start the show recording one more time. Here we go. I'm
Third
sorry,
time
guys.
lucky.
Yeah, it's one of those days. So let's get out of that. So you don't want to click on this at all. So go back to where you have all of these, the URLs, and don't touch or switch on anything until I'll cue you when it's time, and then that'll switch into place. 'Cause for some reason it's coming on live. So let me don't click anything yet. We have 3? Right. Right. So here we go. So I'm going to go back to that shot. Let me go back to this so we can start again. Okay. All right. We'll get you out of here on time. Don't worry.
Oh, it's not a problem.
Okay. So we've got that shot lined up. And sorry about that, Chris. And we're
No
going to
problem.
start the show recording again in... Oh, no. Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to eLearnChat, where talk, it's knowledge. And if you've been around watching, we've said this, I think, 3 times already. So we are here with the lovely, the always wonderful, super intelligent Emma Peel of eLearning. Leslie Price joining us from the UK and originally from Scotland. Hey, Leslie, how are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm very good this evening, and it's great to be on eLearnChat co-hosting with you, Rick.
Oh, same here. We've co-hosted the show 3 times already. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
We had some Skype problems. Not Skype. We had actually a Windows problem where it rebooted itself in the middle of our show, so it kind of went away. And then we had an accident on switching. So I think we're good now. Let's start our intro. And we are back, and joining us today, you'll see him right there in the position of power and authority, is Chris Allen, Christopher Allen from ZebraZapps and Allen Interactions. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Great. It's so much fun to be back on the show.
Yeah, we've messed it up 3 times already, so hopefully this time we're good. We had Windows do an interlude on us, and we had an accidental shift, and I think we are back and we're good. But Chris, it's been a while since you've been on, and we actually stopped the show for about 1.5 years. And then we got a lot of people wanting it to come back on, and we're circling back to all the people we like, and you're definitely one of the people we like. So you're back on, and we just wanted to say hi again and tell us what's been new in the world of ZebraZapps.
Well, there's been a lot going on at Allen Interactions, particularly the last 2 years. Last year was probably one of our best years ever, and both the services side of our business as well as the product side with Zebra has been really busy with new technology, and some of it's been just very eye-opening, and it's led to really great relationships with our clients, a lot more new fun stuff to talk about at shows and to share with the industry, as well as new books being released, great new features inside Zebra. And we've been out talking about a lot of this stuff starting at the beginning of the year. My year has been so busy talking about all the stuff that we've got going on in Allen Interactions, and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon.
That's good.
Yeah.
So tell us what's new with ZebraZapps, because that product has been growing. It's been out there. What have you guys been doing with it?
Well, a number of things. We unlike some of the other vendors in our business, at least in the tools development segment, we have a really long history of doing custom development projects for clients at Allen Interactions, and that's continued. And it's really been a great test bed to figure out, what new features are people really after, how is the industry changing and trending, and what are clients of next year going to want, and make sure that we've got that sort of stuff built into the pipeline for the coming years. We've spent quite a lot of time working on features so that multiple authors could work on the same project together, and that's really been a fun project to work on. So many of the tools out there assume that one person is building the project.
Yep.
And they're wearing the hat of both the artist and the subject matter expert and the writer and the director and the producer and the person organizing all the files and all that sort of stuff, and it becomes a pretty daunting task. And the Allen Interaction services model, of course, has always assumed that it takes a team of at least 5 people, and somewhere around 8 to 10 is probably right, to build a really great course that's going to change behavior, that's has bigger aspirations than just disseminating knowledge, but actually giving people the opportunity to practice. So with that in mind, and some of our natural advantages of just being cloud-based and not caring what type of computer you're using or where you are in the world, or what your expertise level is, whether you're a subject matter expert or you're an artist or that sort of stuff, building in features so that everybody can share and work on the same project, and that's gone really, really well. And we've got some early adopters who have jumped on to those tools, and we've been refining them because we've found opportunities ourselves as we've been working on projects for clients, stretching the globe, where we've had people in our Mendota Heights office here in Minnesota working, and then we've had team members like in India working on the same project file. So, and it's been great to see that around the clock development could really happen, and that you can have multiple people working on the same project and not have those conflicts. So we're really wrapping up a suite of things together to release to the greater public. We've had it with some of our early adopters using it, testing it, making sure that we've got all the stuff that they need, but using it ourselves, and really getting that ready to drop in a pretty meaningful way.
That's actually really interesting what you're saying. What I particularly liked is that you're associating learning with performance, because I think that's one of the huge challenges that people who work in, whether it's e-learning, learning technologies, or learning in general, um, sometimes the focus is on how many people are taking a course or how many people have completed a course.
Yeah.
And I did read, maybe Rick will give me into trouble now, but there's a lovely thing that says when you focus on bums on seats, you're focusing on the wrong end of the learner. um, and I think that performance related to learning is a way of being able to start talking the language of the C-suite, of the senior management team, because it's performance of their employees, their staff, whatever, or even the people who are out there buying their services. They're wanting them to perform in a particular way. So that actually I'm interested in. So what made you put that? What made you get that association?
Well, that's always been, the motto at Allen Interactions, and certainly something that my dad's been writing about for decades. It's so much more about doing the right thing at the right time than what you know. And I often start my talks by saying, if you have written down on a piece of paper that for this course you want your students to be aware, your course is doomed to fail, because you associate, well, if they just knew what the right thing is, then we'd be in good shape, because then they'd do something different. But in almost no case is that the right goal to have. I mean, awareness goals are just terrible. You want to make sure that people are not only confident that they're doing the right thing, but that they're competent in doing that. So practice is really key, and it really all gets down to performance. If you've got something that's just simply disseminating knowledge, maybe building a course is the wrong thing to do. And in that case, performance support stuff, if it's not risky and it's not complicated, why? And you don't need an actual performance change, why build a course? But if you really want someone to do something new, or they're missing opportunities because they don't always do it at the right time, then building a course is a really good idea. And providing practice to a big range of people who are either experts or not experts, and letting the experts take their practice at the really hard level, and the people who know that they need work take their practice at a lower level and build themselves up. That really respects individuals, because so many, I can think of so many e-learning courses that I've taken that we haven't built, that just throughout my life have been requirements, whether they're some sort of compliance or in another industry altogether. They're just such a terrible waste of time, that you as the student figure out, okay, how am I going to get to the end of this the fastest? Those are certainly courses that started out with awareness goals. I need you to read all this information and then record someplace that you did read this information for me to feel satisfied. Probably could have been done better as something else.
Tick box.
Yeah, for sure.
And here we call those.
If that's all you want, create a job aid.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something that's really simple. It doesn't need to be a course, and I just fundamentally believe that if people are going to go spend the time, and people's time is so precious nowadays, they have to get value out of it. So there has to be what I would call the WIFM, the what's in it for me. And if it's going to, it's not just the what's in it for me, it's what's in it for the organization. And if that is improved individual performance and organizational performance, then wow, what a difference that can make.
Yeah.
Chris, she just gave you your new marketing plan, the WIFM enabled. I don't know. I'm still thinking about that butts thing you said, the bottoms. I don't know. That's not a bad idea, but. So is all of what you're doing based on ZebraZapps, or are you incorporating new tools?
Certainly there's a lot going on at Zebra, and that's really my job. But I do get an opportunity to see what everybody else inside our services organization is up to, and what requirements their clients have. And oftentimes, Allen Interactions will do a project for just about every client in whatever tool that they request. So it's not uncommon for an organization to come to us and say, a good third of our e-learning courses have already been developed in whatever tool. We have some people on staff that are pretty competent in that tool, but we need extra capacity. Could you build some stuff and whatever that is? And of course we're happy to do that. So our services folks are really well versed in all the systems that are out there, as well as we've got really wonderful engineers who do custom development stuff from scratch. And they've been working on a new set of models. We have some pretty famous learning models that are out there, the conversation model and the task model and some other stuff that folks have replicated in other tools. Almost all of them are not tool specific. But we've found that there's been a bit of a trend in clients, not wanting to really use their LMS as the front door for whatever course that they're developing, for whatever reason that might be, and that there are more people inside the organization that really want to get their hands a little bit dirty in writing great content. And so we've been hard at work trying to figure out how do we build a scaffolding or a structure for those types of clients that might not want to use an authoring system like Zebra, but they want to use something like Excel or Word in order to create some stuff. And so that's been an interesting trend in that in the past usually the model has been complete one-stop. We do absolutely everything in our services work, and now we're getting a little bit more blended, and we've built some interesting solutions that not only allow the content to be delivered not what appears to be not directly from their LMS, so it's got a really nice warm landing spot that does a lot to encourage people to try new courses or dig into topics that they might not have been experienced in before, as well as open up the door so that more people inside that organization can create content without even having to open up an authoring system, but use tools that they're already using in their job every day. I wish that thing had a really great, cool new name, but it doesn't. But that's been a really interesting trend as far as where learning is going inside big organizations. I often see a big swing, which is take whatever big name you want. For 3 years, they might do all of their corporate development in-house, and they might pick an authoring system or a couple authoring systems, and then they'd use that. And then after about 3 or 4 years, they might decide that the quality that they're getting from internal people isn't good enough, so they're going to start outsourcing almost all of it and kind of swing that way. So then they get rid of all of the instructional designers that are really well versed in tools, and they become more of a purchasing organization. It seems to me, just based on anecdotal evidence, that there's less of a big swing, and there's now more of a blend where more people inside the organization are interested in getting their fingers dirty and in building interesting content. So
yeah, we're seeing the same thing, that there is more of a trend to mix the stand-up, the web-based training, the seminars, the webinars, kind of into one, and more and more, and to provide engagement at all levels, not just maybe the WBT level. We're seeing that in even some projects we're doing right now with some large clients, which is all converting major PowerPoints into new PowerPoints that are more engaging, more learner-centric, and we're seeing a lot more of that today. So again, I think we'll corroborate everything you're saying is And it's trying. It's difficult sometimes because you have to change the way they think,
Yeah, for sure.
which is not easy always. It's that change management fun that
And
always,
nobody likes change management.
and nobody likes change management.
Well, for sure.
Are
Well,
you using any of some of the newer technologies? For example, AI, artificial intelligence, or sort of simulations, virtual reality?
I personally have been really diving into AI in
Okay.
actually
Impressive.
lots of ways over the past 3 months, trying to evaluate, what are the big players doing? How can we incorporate it into our product? So I've been doing lots of experimentation on that. How do we incorporate it into other things that our services business is already doing? And there are interesting opportunities that exist with natural language. So many people do sales training that really is about getting folks to use the right tone, to use the right words in their job, and that sort of practice has been in some ways difficult to simulate. We can do a pretty good job with something like a conversation model, but it doesn't actually necessarily mean that the person is sitting there using their own voice to interact with the learning technology. I think that's pretty close to being able to change in a pretty meaningful way, and I've been exploring all the offerings that exist out there and figuring out, how do they plug into technologies that we're currently using, how difficult it is to create natural language conversation and get a system to learn. And I'm terribly excited about what that means kind of for all of us, because it does get into a realm where we can provide augmented reality learning, and that's something that will be very beneficial.
So in essence, you're talking about the marriage of really the database with the e-learning content to come up with where the AI makes the intelligent decisions around what things have. Now, you used to have a tool called Dialogue Coach, which I've actually worked on at one of our clients, and it was fun. This is a lot of years ago. It's about 14, 15 years ago. But it worked really well. I mean, for its time, there wasn't much like it. And are you taking some of the concepts from Dialogue Coach now and kind of modernizing it?
We still do work with that particular learning model.
Okay.
I think we stopped calling it Dialogue Coach, but that's exactly the technology that we're using. I think we call it the rehearse model.
Oh, cool.
And in that, there certainly is a great deal of voice recording and sending those the best examples that you've recorded off to an expert, maybe having the expert take a listen to it, and interacting that way. That definitely has a big opportunity to grow with the new systems that are available from everybody. I mean, Google and Amazon, just to name a couple, but there are many offshoots that are trying to figure out how to tap into all the connected devices that we have to allow natural language conversation to control things, and one of those things certainly can be learning.
That's great.
Can I ask another question? One of the things that strikes me is there is so much information out there now on the internet, so much of it, and yet there's also in the news, recently, and I won't go into all the stuff that's going on in the US, but there's been so much about fake news going on. And one of the skills that concerns me that a lot of people don't have is knowing when you've got good content, that's accurate content, that you can trust, and stuff that is actually just a load of rubbish. So do you do, yeah, I know, I'm Scottish, but do you do anything on helping people develop the skills to curate or you deliver curated content so that rather than people having to go and search the world and, you know, the universe and everything and end
Yeah.
up with a number 42, you actually, that's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, by the way.
Yes.
You actually help them get through that minefield.
We have done training. We actually did a training course in conjunction with another company for eBay, which was really all about how to take information that you've got or ads that you've got and reconfigure it so that it sends a much more powerful message. Many of those learning models could be reorganized or destructed in another way, which would be, you know, helping people identify markers for, you know, verifying whether or not the source is a good source, whether or not the information that's in it is repeated in multiple different places, and help dive through and take a look at all the components of whatever it is that they're reading and make a judgment. Those interactions would really be fun to build, and certainly we've gone the other way, which is, you know, how do you build a really great message to send to other people? There's no reason why that same fundamental philosophy couldn't be taken and dissected so that it goes the other way around. It is an interesting topic, especially when you consider so many people talking about user-generated content or pure-generated content, and having just some big repository where anybody in a large organization could say, you know, these are the best practices that work for me. You know, I think that's a big challenge, because people are interested in creating things, for certain, but, you know, the structures inside larger organizations, when you open up that free-for-all to say this is really good or this is really bad without hurting somebody's feelings, I think needs some study.
No, I would totally agree with you. I think it is a huge challenge, and I think one of the worries I have is, you know, all you have to do is look at, you know, even you look at websites like the social websites like LinkedIn or Facebook, and some people put things up there which are just absolute nonsense or hoaxes, and other people are liking them and saying, oh, that's a great idea. And if that then gets into organizations, that could potentially actually be damaging to organizations. So I don't quite know how organizations, corporates would deal with it, but it's fine saying to people, learn in your own time, as long as they're actually learning the right things.
Right, and practicing. I mean, there's a really great case for why the training courses that we create should be so focused on practicing a skill, rather than, you know, reading through information or watching a video or all that other sort of stuff. I mean, the effort that it takes to create really great practice is not minimal, but it does in some way signify that this content is legitimate, especially, you know, if it's organization created or even people inside the organization have created it. You know, something that takes into a fact that there is a skill here. You do need to practice it more than just read about it. That makes a big difference. You know, I was thinking a little bit about, you know, before the show, what are some super provocative things to talk about. And in the last year, there's been you know, some market research and studies about, you know, what's the future of e-learning and whether or not people are actually spending on e-learning. And I kind of think it was an Ambient Insight paper that said that e-learning is definitely on the trend down. And when you read the headline and we look around, you know, what's happening in Allen Interactions or other people that we know, well, that's certainly not the case. Business has never been better. So what do they really mean? And they went on to talk a little bit more about, well, it's the simulation-based learning, it's the game-based learning, you know, it's the other stuff that's fun, that's far more focused on practice, that's on the upswing. So, you know, that really led us to believe that, you know, e-learning is a dirty word for sure, and people certainly associate e-learning with either, crummy user-generated content, or the PowerPoints with the quizzes at the end. And, the non-practice based stuff, and maybe we all need to change the words that we're using.
Well, it's interesting. 2 weeks ago we had Brian Jones on,
Yep.
and Leslie was also co-hosting, and she and I were the negatives on all the e-learning trends. We didn't really care that much about some of the new words for things, when really it's the same words for what we've always done. It's just that now they give them a new meaning. Like
Right.
gamification was one of them. Gamification is really nothing more than interaction and engagement and elements of game design. So immediately everybody goes, gamification's a game. No. And so that confuses people.
Yeah.
And then everybody goes, I want a game. And what do you see? Most people are creating Angry Birds. And it's like, okay, but is it in context with anything? No, just shooting birds down.
Yeah, right.
And that's what I've seen. We've seen this. We've seen some large corporations says, here's our e-learning. It's 10 slides of just flat content, and then you get to play Angry Birds for 1 minute, and then you go back to 10 slides of flat content and Angry Birds. And I go, that's not learning.
And press the next button, and there's audio over the top that it says exactly the same as written on the screen that you read in text.
Yeah.
No, it's awful.
Boring.
Yeah.
Right. Right, and there's all sorts of templates and stuff that you can get to make it really easy. I did a talk earlier this year on what does it take to build a serious learning game. Another great buzzword, but really the focus is about the rules of the game have to be the rules of real life, and that's what you need to focus on. The things that make any game really great are the rules. And when you play any new game, certainly for the first time, you are learning, and you're learning the rules and how you operate inside them. What are the moves that you can make? What's the strategy that you should employ to have the best outcome? And what are the outcomes that you need to learn about so that you put yourself in the best position to win the game? And people seem to forget that just instantly, and they want to either use another game that they're comfortable with, like Angry Birds or Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune, right? But then you spend all of your time getting the learner to learn the rules of that game,
right,
and not so much focused on the content, which is the stuff that you want them to be well practiced and versed in. And
Chris,
you can make a game out of anything, and I think everybody's experienced that you can. If you've got a crummy chore to do, you can figure out a way to make that chore more fun to do. And the same thing applies to the stuff that you create. You can make interesting, fun games.
That's Mary Poppins. That's Mary Poppins. Snap.
Yes.
The work's a game.
And one thing nobody talks about is, what if 50 to 70% of your users aren't gamers?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are not gamers. You could go by age group, but I know people in their 20s who aren't gamers, and 30s. And so you have a certain group that's a gamer, certain groups that are not. So if everybody goes gamification, and let's say 50% of your audience isn't a gamer, they don't care.
Right.
Or you got 70% of the audience who's gaming, then you just lost 30%. And so no matter what you do, it's kind of like, you gain some, you lose some, and it's probably always a match of half of your group at any one time is going to be bored.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
what do you do with that? There's not much you can do to change that, because now you're dealing with what people like, what they don't like, how they learn, how they don't learn. Some people are they're kinesthetic learners. They learn by touching, by doing, by hearing. Other people just want to read it. Other people don't want to read it; they want to hear it. Other people want to see it, and it's just getting the multimedia together that pleases everyone. It's not going to happen, but at least you can try to please, in certain ways, a larger majority and hope that the rest follow. That's a tough problem that's always been there for e-learning, and you've probably heard the same. A lot of people say e-learning is dead as we know it. Maybe, but not. I wouldn't say it's dead. I would say it's changing.
Yeah.
But I think the learner ability may be dying. That's a little different. It's not that we can't train them. Maybe some of them are untrainable.
Oh, that's a bit harsh.
Isn't that a harsh way to think about it? But there's a certain reality there.
I think so. I think if you look at little children, from babes in arms, are there to learn, and they learn all the time. And you, as a parent, spend a lot of time with your children, and some children respond in different ways. And one of the things I think is actually really good about what e-learning can offer is that they can offer, because if you watch the way children learn by watching.
Mm-hmm.
They watch what other people are doing. And one of the things I think e-learning can bring, learning technologies can bring, is simulations, is scenario-based learning, so that you don't just learn from doing something right, you're also allowed to learn from your mistakes and do something wrong.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's a very good way of learning.
Yeah. And something, they've done studies that, especially in the U.S., that until about the 4th grade, the kids are really bright, they're learning, and something happens at that point around the 5th grade where the training goes down the tubes. It's really interesting. And by the time they're in high school, it's hopeless. They've learned nothing. And it's really sort of sad, but of the first 4 years or 5 years, if you include kindergarten, they're doing really well. Something changes in the education system around the 5th grade where all of a sudden they're not doing as well. And that's been trended in other parts of the world too, that maybe
in corporate e-learning, or when people then come to be doing things in vocational education, or college, what we would call university education, maybe we would need to be looking at how children learn, and in some way working out how we can simulate that. I don't know. What's your view on that then, Chris?
Well, it could be something that you were just talking about, which is the comfort in being able to fail, which is something what you really want to see in a simulation is what are the consequences of doing the wrong thing in this situation. It seems reasonable to me to make a hypothesis that somewhere around that 4th and 5th grade level, the social component of being in a classroom, failure or making a bold and wild choice is no longer socially acceptable. So you become far more conservative in how you behave, how you act, and the risks that you're willing to take while learning, which is certainly something to be said about individualized learning. If no one's if you don't have a whole group of peers looking over your shoulder, you're willing to experiment and try and be a little bit more wild, But if you've got an entire room of people looking at you, not everybody has the appetite to make a choice that they think, well, it might fail. Which is what technology was supposed to do from the very beginning, which was support us, to be our digital assistant, to allow us to go at our own pace and try things that we're comfortable trying. And that really is so important.
And we are at the end of our time, but these are good subjects. I think we need to have you back on, Chris, and talk about some of these things. We didn't get too much into ZebraZapps today, but these are really things that are affecting all of us in the corporate world, in the e-learning world, in development. And I'd say to a certain point, everyone's scrambling, trying to keep up with what's going on everywhere, because there's a lot of change happening, and I don't think a lot of people even understand why the change is happening. They're adapting to it. They're not thinking, they're reacting.
Right.
Which is not always good, but I mean, it can be good as a band-aid, but it's not really good as a strategy. What's your strategy for the future? React. That's just not a good strategy. But the offer stands. We'd love to have you come back on and talk some more and just share time. We love having you anyway. You're a good guy. And by the way, you're also, if you're still doing this, I don't know if you knew this, Leslie, but Chris is also an Ironman. He's a triathlete.
No, I didn't know.
Yes.
Wow.
It is a great hobby. It's a great sport. You can be marginally good or equally bad at all three components: swimming, biking, and running, and still do okay. Or another way to look at it is, if you've got one thing that you're not very good at, it doesn't last very long, and then you can move on to something that you are good at.
Yep.
But I do like to compete, and it's a good, healthy sport.
It is. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun watching
Wow,
it too. I mean,
impressed.
that's you guys are
Impressed.
amazing.
Well, I've got two things that I'd like to leave you plugs, if that's okay.
Sure.
We've got the latest edition here of which way does the camera go? There we go.
Right there.
Michael Allen's Guide to eLearning, the second edition. Wiley asked him to put out a second edition here pretty recently. This is one of the first books that he wrote, and it certainly has been wildly popular.
Mm-hmm.
To put out a second edition, they required a minimum of 20% new content, and the new stuff in it is really great. We've got lots of new examples of corporate training that are really great to look through, as well as a lot of more modern topics, some of them that we talked about today. The second thing that's worth noting is we've been hosting what we've been calling the Allen Experience, which is a co-located event with Training Magazine at their online learning conference.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all day, it's hands-on, and we usually let client stories and case studies kind of lead the way. So we bring in some of the bigger projects that we've done usually in the past year. We have our clients talk about, what was the cycle about launching this particular product or effort like? What is it that organizations need to think about when they're launching big new learning efforts? As well as getting hands-on and digging into design and talking about a lot of the issues about how do you create or build really great simulation-based learning? And for a lot of organizations, that's still new stuff. And so it's really fun to have a big group of people get their hands dirty and really design for some problems and ask interesting questions. So that's going to be in September in New Orleans, and it's been a lot of fun to participate in those. And we've done a Zebra component. We've had interesting hands-on experiments, and really hope to build that and be an interesting component of what we offer every year in the training space, giving back to the e-learning and learning development community.
That's great.
And I've got to do my plug for Learn Appeal. So please, Chris, have a checkout of www.learnappeal.com. We are going to be taking e-learning to places where they don't have any internet and maybe don't even have any mains electricity.
Ooh, fun.
So it's challenging, but it's enormous fun, and we're getting support. Rick is very, very supportive of what we do, and we're now getting support from folks in the UK and folks in the US. So for people listening, please check out what we're doing at Learn Appeal.
Yeah,
we'll do. That does sound very fascinating.
It's really cool. They put out these little capsules in different places, and they're self-enclosed e-learning capsules.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to teach people trades. And these are very functional, practical tools, mostly in the third world, but that would include probably half the cities in the U.S., so that's probably not a bad thing.
I wasn't going to say that.
Sorry, I'm being snide today. Anyway, that's
lovely
great.
to meet you, Chris. Great
Very
to
nice
chat
to
to you
meet
this
you.
evening.
And we hope you have you back on again, and that was fun. And so if you have any questions, we'll put in the show notes the content, how to get a hold of Chris, as well as links to all the sites that we've been showing. And same with Leslie. So if you have any interest in Learn Appeal, take a look at it. She's done some great work with the team there. And mind you, she's in retirement. She's working harder than ever now, I think.
I'm chief cook and bottle washer.
Yep, that's great. You know what? That's passion. We need that. That's good. So for all you people watching, please subscribe, send us feedback, and get in touch with the people who are on here. You'll have good times. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Leslie. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.